So we'll move on to the next topic. Let's talk about 5 things different entrepreneurs and business owners that actually might be tuning into this episode that they can be doing when it comes to transitioning from the first quarter of business of the year to second quarter. And some of the things that I've done, even myself, over the years when it came from first quarter to second quarter, even clients that I've worked with in terms of helping them as well.
Okay.
All right. First thing I would say is it's always great to reflect back on the first quarter, right? What took place in the first quarter? What were some of your goals that you was looking to set out for when it came to your business in the first quarter? For instance, it could be from a marketing standpoint, right? Whether you was marketing on social media, let's say in the first quarter, using different platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, leveraging email, whatever the case may be to grow your business. How effective were those channels in terms of generating you business in the first quarter?
Makes sense.
With those channels, is there certain channels that you need to scale up and double down on in the second quarter of this year? Or is it some of those channels you might need to scale back on because they may not generate you as much business?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And we talked about that in another episode, Bri, about some business owners believe that their audience is on every single platform.
Knowing your platform.
Right, knowing the platform and knowing where your audience is actually hanging out at, spending the most time, and whether that's online or even offline.
Yeah.
Right? So you may want to go back and reflect and look at what were your marketing metrics like in terms of a return on investment for your time, or even if you're dealing with a marketing company, their time in regards to the return that you got back for your time, or even if you spend advertising dollars, right? You actually want to look into that. If you set certain sales goals, right? Did you hit your targets in the first quarter? If you did, great, congratulations. You may be looking to ramp up in the second quarter, or you may be just looking to do the same thing you did in the first quarter in terms of numbers. That's fine. Some people don't want to ramp up too fast. It just depends, if that makes sense. But look at your sales numbers. You know what I mean? How were they looking for the first quarter? And if they weren't looking as good, how can you improve? You know what I mean? In the second quarter, what are some things you can improve to increase your sales numbers, whether you're doing sales yourself, whether you have a sales team, or whatever the case may be. You gotta always be looking at ways to be able to optimize and improve efficiency, productivity, and outcome and results when it comes to growing a business. If that makes sense.
Of course.
Right. Now, the next thing I would say is customer service or client success. Right? Going back and looking at how was your customer or client experience in the first quarter. Right? And a lot of times you can get that experience from the market or the clients or the customers themselves. Of course, it comes from getting reviews, comes from getting testimonials, things of that nature, but also speaking to your customers and clients about how was their experience with engaging with your particular business and being a customer client in the first quarter. Were they satisfied, or some things that you can improve on when it comes to that particular experience for this second quarter?
Yeah.
To continue to improve upon the business.
Makes sense.
If that makes sense. A lot of times people don't never talk to their customers. They never talk to their clients. Right?
Really?
I've had clients of mine over the years with our digital marketing agency where they don't even thoroughly understand the biggest pains and problems and frustrations of their particular client base. They don't understand it at a high level. And then they'll ask me, Gerald, what do you believe it is? And I'm like, I don't know what your customers' pains, problems, and frustrations are at a high level. You should know because you should be talking to your customers and clients.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Of course.
And some people don't even know. And this is going to go back to marketing very quickly because, of course, I run a digital marketing company. A lot of our marketing that I've created over the years has came from me speaking to the market. That's how I craft the messaging for the marketing. I don't just come up with any old type of marketing messages. No, I've done so many sales calls with potential clients and even client calls with clients where they've told me their pains and problems, and I have them written in notebooks that when I go to create marketing, it speaks directly to my audience because I've spoken to so many of them. And also it helps me with improving the customer and client experience for my clients because I'm always talking to them to get the feedback, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Right? So these are some things I believe, you know, if you want to make a better second quarter, you know, maybe potentially better than what your first quarter is, these are some of the things you want to look at. You know, the fourth thing, of course, financials in terms of your business. You know, are you hitting your revenue targets? Are you making enough profit, you know, to maintain, of course, even your own personal business that you need to take care of? Looking at those targets, did you hit them in first quarter that you may have set out for? If you did, great. Maybe you're looking to scale in second quarter. What do those numbers look like? What are you setting out for this quarter? If you didn't, how can you improve in this second quarter to be able to hit your numbers? Does that make sense?
Of course.
That's the fourth thing I say. And then, in terms of the fifth thing, I would just say continue to grow, continue to learn, continue to educate yourself, right? When it comes to your industry, when it comes to your skill set, when it comes to the marketplace as a whole, different new technology that's rolling out, because we're in that age right now, AI, all this stuff that's going on, you got to continue to educate yourself or you'll get left behind the ball.
Yeah.
Right? You'll get left behind, if that makes sense, right? And during this day and time, you know what I mean? So you got to continue to educate yourself. How do you educate yourself? Well, I tell you this. For one, you got YouTube University, but I tell you this, you know, if you're looking to be a millionaire or multimillionaire or something like that, you know, you just can't do YouTube University. Now, you can learn from YouTube University, right? But if YouTube University was the only solution, we'll have a lot more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you could get some great information from YouTube University. I'm not saying you can't, but if you're looking to play at those bigger levels, grow like 7-figure plus business, 8-figure plus business, whatever the case may be, then you got to go beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna say this, Brittany, you can definitely chime in. Reading books, right? Taking courses, having a coach or a mentor. Masterminds help as well. I've been in them. Events and conferences. That's how you take your knowledge to the next level. I've done this for many years myself. I've invested multiple six figures in my education outside of college. My college education costs a lot of money, but outside of college, I've invested multiple six figures in my knowledge over the years. If you're not willing to take it to that level, so I'm saying, you know, then I don't know how big you're looking to go, but that's what it really takes.
Yeah.
And I have to share this because I know we have some entrepreneur business owners that look at this and they feel they're educating themselves, but are you really? You see what I'm saying? Are you really? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned, Bri, when I was in direct sales before I started a digital marketing company, one of the people that I looked up to in the direct sales company, I was a top earner. He used to say, every check I get, I buy a book and a suit at that time, right? A book and a suit, every check I got.
That's fair.
Right? And if you don't wear a suit, you don't have to wear a suit. Just buy you something nice to do business in. But I'm saying, he said, book, suit, every check I get. And so I actually carried that philosophy for many years, you know, and my library became big. My library, you know, here right now, all my books are not here. I got tons of more books. But I read more when I graduated from college than I did in college.
Really?
Absolutely. I read way more.
You feel you had to?
Yeah. Being a business owner, I feel you have to constantly read, or like I said, you'll get left behind because things are always evolving and changing, right? So I had to consistently educate myself and also to give my clients better results, if that makes sense. It ain't even just for our business, it's even for my clients.
Yeah.
When I'm reading and educating myself, it's not just for me, it's also for our clients. It's not just for the rising 1%, it's for the clients. See what I'm saying? We have to stay ahead of the 8 ball. So with that being said, you gotta educate yourself. You know, you got to. They say broke people have big TVs, rich people have big libraries.
Fair.
Right?
Fair.
And I have TVs in my house. But at the same time, I tell people this, Bree, and I know you had to say so. Hold your thought.
You're good.
I'm going somewhere with this.
Go hard. Keep
now
going.
I'm kind of rolling, right?
Keep going.
I'm gonna tell you this. For many years, I didn't have Netflix in my house.
Yeah.
No Netflix, no cable, nothing. See, most people not willing to sacrifice that. Because what was my leisure time spent doing if I wasn't hanging out with family and friends every now and then? What was my leisure time spent doing? I was reading. I was going through courses. I was hopping on coaching calls with my coach. I was plugging into a mastermind that I was in. I was going to events and conferences. By the way, a mastermind I invested in, Bree, and I'm going to share this because, you know, a lot of people say they want to go to the big levels. Let me explain something to you. In 2000 and around 21, I invested in a $30,000 a year mastermind. I don't pay all the money up front. You break the payments up. But I was the only black person in the entire mastermind. And every entrepreneur and business owner that was in the mastermind, their business was doing $50,000 to $100,000. To the top person in the mastermind business was doing $250,000 a month. Right? It's only 10 business owners. I invested to be in that circle. We used to have to go to Miami or Sunny Isle, Florida, which is right by Miami. We had to fly down there 4 times a year. We mastermind 3 days in a room, all day, talking about business and growing companies, and everybody sharing ideas of what's working for their business at that time. I invested to be in those circles.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that took my business knowledge to the next level. It took my marketing, sales, client experience, all of that to the next level just by being in those circles.
Yeah.
Hello, this is G Bass, Rise of the 1%, Rise Media. We on this Saturday evening about to get ready to knock out some podcast episodes with some individuals here in the city of Atlanta making some big moves. You can see here, look, this is how it goes down. Here when our guests come and sit down with myself, G Bass, other Rise of 1% of Rise Media, to have that conversation. To share the story, share the journey, share what you got going on. So listen, everybody got a story, everybody got a journey, and then you got some things going on, then you definitely can get with us and see if it'll be a fit to be on the Rise of 1% podcast and actually have that discussion with myself. It's going to be a link to a form for you to fill out. You said www.theriseofthe1%.com/pod form. Again, www.theriseofthe1%.com/pod form. It's going to be in this video. You can fill that out. And we can see if there'll be a fit for you to come on and have that conversation with myself. If you don't fill out the form, then obviously it's not for you, and that's fine. We're looking for those that's serious. Those that's serious about rising to the top 1% are already in the 1%. That's what we're looking to sit down with myself right here. As you can see, Rise Media, Rise of the 1%. This is how we get down. And we have a great time and have a lot of fun doing it. So once again, if you're serious, make sure you fill out the form. We'll look over the form, see if it's a fit. If it's a fit, we'll reach out. If not, we won't reach out. We'll just continue to move forward. But with that said, this is G Bass. See you soon. Have a great one on purpose.